Thank you. I will be rather brief, as you say.
Excellent.
I know I'm standing. I know what you were going to say. Okay, I've been asked to give kind of a view from the U.S. on this whole question. A lot has already been said. I'll skip some of what I had written down. To sum up, I would say that my view on the United States reaction to a, let's say, less than ideal advisory opinion is one of optimism, albeit qualified optimism. And depending on how our political situation shakes out, it could be very qualified. The U.S. position on the situation, the advisory opinion matter before the court is very much similar to some of the others that have been mentioned. It sees it as a political question. If you read the U.S. Statement to the court, I could probably sum it up as the court should stay in its lane. This is not necessarily something that the court was called to do, and that the court should defer to negotiations between the parties and the UN Security Council and its resolutions. I think if there's any critique of the U.S. position at this point, it's that it still carries the old paradigm. It's still kind of clinging to what it calls the horizon of hope. I have a lot of hope. I'm not sure it's exactly embodied in the current paradigm for the solution of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. The U.S. position comes from sort of two places. One is our historical skepticism of international institutions, supranational bodies, and also from a different cultural, religious place, a traditional kind of Hebraic Christianity, if I could put it that way. That does seem, however, to be changing, and although this is not a legal analysis, I think the demographic change, the social change in the United States is actually relevant to what we're speaking about. So on one hand, if you look at data recently, you find that Americans by and large are concerned about growing anti-Semitism. Now 1 out of 2 Americans feel that anti-Semitism is a very serious problem. That's according to a Gallup poll just this week. And that is, and then there's another 32% who say it's a problem of some kind, right? So you have a large majority of Americans worried about anti-Semitism, and these numbers are up even since last October. However, the support or the approval for Israel's operation in Gaza is down since October. Only 36% of Americans currently approve of Israel's military action, down from 50% at the end of last year, right? The more time passes, the more that support goes down. Republicans went from 71% down to 64%, not a huge drop. Independents, 47% to 29%. Democrats, 36% to 18%. Question is, what's happening? Part of it is Americans are kind of exhausted by, what you might call foreign entanglements. We've spent 20 years in the Islamic world, and I think many people on the right and the left are just kind of sick of that part of the world. They're tired of, global adventures in general, and to the extent that they are, they're thinking about big threats like China. The argument I hear from friends of mine, even on the right, is to say, look, it's not our problem, let the Israelis deal with it. Concerning. Also, back to the social issues, there is a decline, a statistical decline of the religious forces and religious communities that's made America so Zionist. I won't go any deeper into that, but it's a very important part of the story. So, if the Democrats win in this election, which is very much an open question, it's not certain, given the pressure from the extreme part of that party, the progressive part, that a second Biden administration or a something administration could hold out against that kind of pressure. It's not clear to me. I think that the moderate Democrats are having a really hard time holding back the flood. Obviously, if Republicans win, it's a different story. U.S. skepticism of supranational institutions is very much embodied in Donald Trump and the people who support him, as is, I'd say, a very kind of pro-Israel position. We can't take American support. America's the big supporter, right, at the Security Council, certainly. with a few exceptions. But given the changes in the U.S., political, cultural, and otherwise, it's something that we cannot take for granted. It's something I think about a lot. So how to respond? I think the big thing right now is political action. People who care about Israel are very much funneling their energy into this election. And ideally, it's very interesting to be in Europe in this moment. Ideally, our response to a negative advisory opinion could be done in partnership with a maybe small but growing coalition of European allies. It's actually very encouraging. But I also think there are these deeper issues that need to be addressed beyond the scope of think and what we're talking about today. But there is I don't want to get too philosophical here, but there is still the problem of the spiritual crisis in the U.S. that, if left unaddressed, 10 years, 20 years, I'm not sure how long, could make all of this analysis much shakier. So I'll end on that very positive note. Thank you very much.